Hi everyone, it's Brad here from PSB Borden. Today I'm going to take you through a little brief instructional, just going over the basics of our favorite golf club, the driver. So this club is the club we use the most, or I guess outside the putter we use the most for long holes that we want to get closer to the hole, we want to drive it far, and we also want to keep it straight. So I'm going to go over some basics today to hopefully help you do that. I myself, I'm not a pro golfer, but these are some little tips that I've picked up that have helped me to be able to swing the glove properly. Okay, before we get started, I'll just do a brief little warm-up, a couple movements just to help you get loose before you start swinging the club, because we are going to want to hit it with a lot of power, a lot of torque. So we'll do a couple warm-up exercises first. So if you want to, you can just follow me. First, we want to warm up our hip flexors, so we're going to take a staggered stance just up on our back toe there. You can do this easily at a golf course, putting the front foot up on an elevated surface like your golf cart, for example, if you'd like. You're going to drop that hip down. You should feel it stretching right through the front of the hip. We can hold that for about 30 seconds or so on each side. The next one, we want to stretch the lats. So again, you can use your club for this one, or you can grab onto a hard surface, basically just bending over at the hip, bring the head down in between the arms. You should feel that pull through your upper back. Next, we'll do a couple rotational exercises. So first one, we're going to be kneeling. You hold the club out in front of us. We're going to rotate in towards the knee that is up and back out front. Okay, we can do 10 reps of that. Go ahead and we can switch sides. Okay, this time we're going to do the same thing, except holding the club overhead. Again, rotating towards the knee that is up. Here it'd be good to take a few swings. I myself have already warmed up with my swings, so if you were heading out to the course, just doing some light swings, increasing your pace, increasing the power with some practice swings before you go and hit the ball. Okay, first thing though that we want to run over today is we want to make sure our hand placement on our club is proper. Okay, so proper way to hold the club, we're going to take it. We're going to start the club at the tip or the base of our pinky finger. Okay? And we're going to wrap the club so that it runs up to the middle of our index finger. Okay? So again, the base of the pinky, it should run across the fingers to the middle of the index finger. And from there, you just wrap the fingers around, bring the thumb across, and we want to see a nice V shape in our hand there. We want to make sure when we grip, we're not gripping right on the top of the club either. Okay, so we can get our wrap there. We're not squeezing too hard, we're not squeezing too lightly either. Okay, just a nice solid grip on the club. Don't try and strangle it to death. With our other hand, we're going to take the pad underneath our thumb. We're going to wrap it over top of our left thumb. Okay. For the back side of the hand, there's a couple different options. You can just have the index on your one hand and the pinky on your other hand touching. Some people like to wrap them one over the other, so the pinky over top of the index. Some people also like to interlock them. It's all based on your comfort level. The grip can be a little awkward and it doesn't quite feel natural, so it might take some playing around and getting used to. But the end result, both hands should have that V shape in the middle. Okay, so that's our hand placement on the club. Now, we're set up with the ball. I've already got mine set up for me here. But we want to set it up that the ball is about half on the face of the club, and half the ball is above the crown of the club. Okay? So basically, if you're looking at it from the ball's view, okay, half of it should be on, half of it should be above the crown. Okay, a driver swing differs from our iron swing. For an iron swing, we want to swing down so that we can get underneath the ball to project it up. Because we're start playing with a driver and the ball is already on a tee, we want to be able to have an upswing so that we can get the ball in the air, get a good spin on it, and let it carry. Okay? So the first thing we want to do, we want to make sure that the driver is nice and dead straight. Okay? So it shouldn't be off on an angle like this, off on an angle out here. It should be behind the ball, and that shaft of the club should be nice and straight. We're going to start with our feet in a narrow stance. Okay? From there, I'm going to take my left foot. Anytime I say left or right, because I'm a right-handed golfer, if you're playing from a left side, just switching over. When I say left, it means right side. But for the right-handed players, I'm going to take a narrow step with my left here, so that the ball lines up with the inside of my heel on my left foot. I'm going to take a wide stance with my right, so now that I have both my feet underneath my shoulders, I've got a nice wide stance. Okay? So we've got our grip down that we just talked about a minute ago. From here, we're going to drop that right shoulder down slightly. Okay? This is going to help us keep our body back behind the ball. Okay? When we swing, we don't want to be leaning in front of the ball. Okay? That's going to cause our driver, our shaft, to not be dead straight. And we want to make sure that shaft stays straight at the moment of impact. Okay? Also, because this is the longest club in our bag, it's going to differ from the rest of the clubs, where we would play a little more in and the hands are underneath the chest. Because this club is longer, we want to maximize leverage and maximize power with it. Our hands are held out more, so the hands should be about underneath the chin when you're going through your swing. Okay, so we'll go through our back swing now. So for our back swing, we want to draw the club back. We don't want to draw it directly up overhead, and we don't want to draw it too low either. Okay, so it should be somewhere in between, about 45-degree angle. We want to draw the club back. When we draw back, we're rotating the shoulders and rotating the hips as well. Okay, and when we do that rotation, we should be shifting weight onto the outside foot, onto the heel. Okay, we want to draw that club all the way back as far as we can rotate, and that will help give us more power in our shot as well. Okay, so again, we can draw back, come down, and we want to finish right at the moment of impact. Our stance should look the exact same as it did at the start. So when we pull back, okay, rotating the shoulders, rotating the hips, you should feel that weight on the outside heel. Pull the club back down, and we should be right back in our starting position. Our wide stance, shaft is nice and straight. Okay, that shoulder is slightly dipped on the right side, and from there, we'll be able to have a good finish. Okay. So again, we'll go through that one more time. Rotating the shoulders, hips, weights onto the heel, coming back into that starting position. Okay, just basically unwinding the body and getting back into that starting position. So with our swing, for hitting the driver, like I mentioned earlier, we're not trying to downswing. We want to go for an upward swing and get that upward arc on the ball. So when we swing, we want to be lifting up into the back of the ball and not hitting down into it. A common mistake a starter or beginner might use is coming up and hitting down to the ball and then trying to lift up the club. Okay, this is why we want to keep our weight behind the ball, so that when we follow through, we can get that upward arc on the ball. Again, show you one more time. If we were to shift that weight forward at the time of impact here, you can see my club, the shaft is not dead straight. Okay, if I hit this ball, it's going to end up heading to my right. Okay, so again, making sure that when we swing, keep that shoulder dipped. And you can see at the moment of impact, my weight is still behind the ball. And then as I follow through, I can shift my weight onto my front foot. Okay, so that's what we'll talk about next, is our follow through. Okay, so now that we've done, rotated our shoulders, our hips, the weight's on the back heel, on our follow through, come back to the moment of impact. Okay, back to our neutral stance or starting stance. For our follow through, we want to make sure that we keep the arms outstretched. Okay, we shift the weight into the front leg here, okay, and we can help facilitate that by coming up onto the balls of the feet on our back foot. Again, hips, shoulders, weights on the back foot. As we come through, back into our neutral stance, and then the follow through, the weight shifts onto the front foot. Our body comes through, we're up on the ball of the feet on our back foot. Okay. A good practice here, you want to make sure that you're nice and balanced. So when you do that, you should be able to land on that front foot now with our weight shifted, and we should be nice and balanced. We should be able to hold that stance there. Okay. If you're not nice and balanced, you're going to feel yourself fall forward or fall backwards. Okay. This just means you don't have that balance. Another good idea before we start a round, you just do some single leg balance to help you get used to having that balance on the single leg, shifting it onto the front foot. So again, we get our stance, shoulders, hips rotate, weights on the back foot, coming back into our neutral stance, follow through, weights onto the front, and we should be able to hold that there. Okay. So a good idea, we can just work this here with some nice practice swings, nice and easy. And as we go, we can start to swing a little bit harder. Focus on balancing on that front foot. Keeping our weight back behind the ball as we swing. From there, again, make sure your ball is teed up properly. Make sure that half the ball is above the crown of the club. We have our proper grip. Both of those V's in our hands should be heading up towards our right shoulder or our back shoulder. Okay. Take that small step to line the ball up. Take a wider step with the back foot so that we have a nice stable balance. Feet are under the shoulders. I'm going to rotate back with the hips and the shoulders. Weights on my back heel. As I come down, I should come back to neutral position and then following through onto my front leg. Okay. Go through that one more time. Getting our grip, making sure our foot is in line, ball's at a nice height, shoulders dipped, pull back, weights on that back heel, going down into neutral, and then extending the grip. Okay, again, make sure we finish with good balance. Make sure the club follows all the way through. Okay. So again, I'm no pro. I've never coached anyone in golf, but like most of us, I just enjoy being out and playing around. And the round's a little more fun if you have a semblance or a small idea of what you're doing. Most people They love hitting the driver just because that's the longest club. You can get a lot of power out of it. You can get a little competition going with those you're playing with, so you can hit it the furthest, and also who can hit it the straightest is a big key of doing that. So just a few tips for the average hacker out there who just wants to go and play a little bit better, shave a few strokes off of their round, and definitely when your first shot is good, it helps with the rest of the shots. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the video from one duffer to another, and enjoy your round out on the golf course, and we'll see you later.